IOM teaching conflict resolution. Health Minister clarifies medical supplier saga. And Women Soldiers Forum underway in Port Moresby.
This is the National EMTV News with Helen Sayer.
Good evening and thank you for joining me with Tuesday's news. Understanding the root causes of community-based clashes is crucial in addressing the problem of ethnic clashes. IOM, or the International Organization of Migration, says many conflicts are not addressed appropriately because too much focus is on the effects of the clashes. A two-day workshop is underway in Port Moresby to promote sustainable peace and reconciliation solutions.
The Combat Commit concept of community-based tribal conflict mitigation and peace building is a project implemented by IOM to help communities highly impacted by conflict. Discussions this morning aim to identify the root causes of problems and not the effects.
Well, IOM come in and we play work bung one time come no time no finding lasting solution blo bulolo where you can get good plus down no sem before bulolo been stopped long him. You know only bulolo but them he can roll go arpla center supposedly got one kind heavy when we play got long him.
Albert Kaklep is a member of the Bulolo Peace community from Morobe. He says for classes in Bulolo, help from the Morobe provincial government is shallow.
Because all kind of something was a ground all voluntary organizations come along helping. So provincial government can take him ownership. At district level, he can take him ownership long or co-fund him or leader man or say mipla legally line where mipla try best law find more solutions. Bambla looking more say right.
The two-day workshop is attended by participants, mostly community leaders or state agencies from Morobe and Enga. Part of the workshop will see participants develop a reference or standard operational procedure to be used as a do-no-harm analysis to peace building.
The purpose of the training is the tribal conflict peace building training that we are actually building the capacity of traditional leaders, provincial authorities on how they can actually increase their skills in mediation and also in conflict resolution.
IOM aims to promote Combat Commit through a community approach to facilitate conflict mitigation and transition to peacekeeping. IOM says the root cause of conflicts must be identified before true peace or conflicts are addressed.
So the approach that we are using is a whole community approach in terms of development where we focus on involvement of all tribal groups that are there, all the gender groups that are also there in the community, so that everybody in the community participate towards enhancing development. We actually look in terms of what is the role of women, what is the role of men, what is the role of the children, what is the role of the youth in terms of conflict resolution, how can they participate in all the disputes resolution that are happening in the community.
The workshop will end tomorrow with the final draft of the standard operational procedure. Jack Lapava Jr., National EMTV News.
A United Nations report suggests that proper access to sexual and reproductive health is vital to minimize the high number of mothers in Papua New Guinea dying at childbirth. In accordance with the 17 Strategic Development Goals, United Nations Population Fund and other partners are discussing ways forward to access reproductive health available at health centers. For PNG, the focus is on the 85% of people living in the rural areas.
At the launch of the State of World Population Report 2017 in Port Moresby, more focus was given to high statistics on maternal deaths in developing nations, including PNG. UN Country Representative Roy Trivedi says, while the world's population is growing, there is improvement in the life expectancy rate also.
And if we look at our population growth rate, it is 3.1, 3.2%. Okay, so still our population is growing, and the issue there is, of course, We're seeing different challenges for development now than was the case 20 years ago and so on. Because one, we've got across the world aging populations. We also have how do we feed the world and how do we look after human rights, all of the issues that impact on people's lives when we've got growing population.
But while this may be seen as a good thing, there is still a big gap between gender equality and inequality in realizing sexual and reproductive health rights for women and girls. Not all women and girls in PNG have proper access to sexual and reproductive health care. In urban areas where women and girls can access such information, they feel discouraged to do so because of confidential issues. The population report highlights 10 recommendations that include creating avenues for women and girls to access information on sexual and reproductive health and ensuring that there is gender equality in women empowerment.
Provide a universal social protection, offering basic income security and covering essential services. 6. Strengthen services such as childcare to enable women to enter and remain in the paid workforce.
As part of government's involvement in addressing this issue, Health Minister Sepuka Temu pledged to support district clinics and aid posts to introduce family planning counseling services.
I think our challenge is how do we make traction in every effort that we can to make sure, for example, my own interest is family planning services must be available to every. That's the opportunity that I want to create as your Minister for Health.
The population report was launched by National Planning and Monitoring Minister Richard Maru. Tekla Gunga, National EMTV News.
Minister for Health Sepuka Temu says government will consider Borneo Pharmaceuticals as one of its essential medicine supplier. He said the renewal of the contract is part of the new system that will have stricter selection of suppliers for the public health system. Minister Temu was speaking at the opening of the 5th Biennial Scientific Conference for Pharmacists in Port Moresby.
The public health system will have a more stronger filtering process to ensure quality of medicine is provided from suppliers. Minister for Health and HIV and AIDS, Sepuka Temu, told MTV News today that the government, through its screening committees, will consider re-signing another deal with controversial medical supplier, Borneo Pharmaceuticals.
Borneo Pharmacy has been in the country for quite a long time. We have now got the ability to manage, to monitor efficiency and monitor quality. Before, we never had those things. We have the right to bid like every other company, and once they bid, it goes to the Central Supply Standards Board.
The deal is part of the supplementary budget of 100 million kina allocated by the O'Neill-Abel government for health services. However, Minister Temu says the decision on how the money will be used has not been decided as yet.
Of the total 100 million in the supplementary budget, we make sure that we give sufficient amount to purchase.
Sepuka was speaking at the opening of the launching of the National Competency Standards and Assessment Toolkit for pharmacists in Papua New Guinea today. Sepuka told participating pharmacists that the government is planning on stricter regulations for medical practitioners in doctors, nurses and pharmacists. Harry Gimbari, National EMTV News.
Meanwhile, Minister Temu says salary benefits for health workers on strike in Lae Marbeh province has been discussed by the department. They have identified the salary increases will be made according to assessment to risk and the price of goods and services.
Pay for public servants is a systems issue. There are industrial matters. There are rewards that have been negotiated through the Department of Personnel Management, and the CPI requirements of increasing salary is part of the general salary management system in the country. I think they are already been awarded CPI increases, and I think the next awards need to be negotiated through DPM.
Stop and Shop customers can now access Telecom Wi-Fi on their mobile phones. This service was launched today at the Harbour City Stop and Shop supermarket and will be rolled out to other Stop and Shop outlets in Port Moresby soon. This latest service by Telecom will not be restricted to its users, but will also be open to other mobile network users through a guest account. Telecom PNG Acting Chief Executive Officer Xavier Victor was extremely happy with the launch, saying this was the next phase in Telecom's 4G service rollouts.
Any point-of-sale terminal will be able to dispense vouchers. So after you do your shopping, you can ask them for your Telecom top-up, and they will be able to punch that into their normal cashier, and they will dispense it at the end of the receipt that you get for your groceries and your whatever items that you purchase from CPL. So, you know, that's, if you like, a two-in-one kind of package that you can be able to get at the end of your shopping experience here at Stop and Shop.
Australian Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull says refugees on Manus will be removed lawfully by October 31st, the official date for the detention to cease operation. Mr. Turnbull said the Australian and PNG governments will work together to settle the refugees. A first batch of 54 refugees from Manus were notified of their acceptance to the United States in September, with 24 already in the States. However, hundreds remain in Manus. The Australian government says refugees refusing to leave will be forced to leave the shores of PNG to their country of origin. The University of Papua New Guinea, through its creative arts strand of the School of Humanities and Social Sciences, will stage a body art spectacle next month in Port Moresby. The show will portray different types of abuses women endure from violent relationships under the theme Fight Against Gender-Based Violence.
The expression event is centered on the awareness of gender-based violence, which has plagued the society's vulnerable few for many years.
The reason why we chose the body art spectacle this year is because of the fact that most of the artists who are participating in this project are very passionate about gender-based violence. So,
UPNG Theatre Arts Division Head, Ms. Sophie Naime, said the spectacle will be the first of its kind. All students registered under the Theatre Arts Division will be responsible to put together the show for their final assessments.
Okay, most of the students' involvements are to do with the backstage. So we manage the show. We run all the front of house matters like selling of tickets, publicity. Because there are different courses offered in the semester, all of them are assessed according to the course that they are taking.
The event will provide an opportunity for current students to work alongside some of the best creative minds in the country. Another objective of the event is to raise additional funds to assist the division purchase its much needed equipments.
We don't have lights, thus we don't perform. So this show gives us the opportunity to raise funds to buy lights.
Naime says a total of 50 models, both male and female, will model 10 of the country's finest visual artist works in a 6-scene, 3-act show on a story of an anguished woman who has been through unimaginable episodes of abuse.
We want to tell the kids and the girls that you must say no to violence. You must speak against. If you're experiencing it, go to the relevant authorities and report the matter. You must come out of it. You must speak for your right.
The division will partner with several production partners in Next of Kin, Creative Kanaka, Dare to Create, and Agent X Creatives. In addition, Naime said selected paintings donated by the artist will be sanctioned, with the proceeds donated to selected charity organizations. The spectacle will be staged on the evening of November 23rd, which will coincide with the annual United Nations 20 Days Activism Calendar. Shane Saroya, National EMTV News.
In the news ahead, PNG Defence Force Women's Forum, NID progress in Ley, and our forests disappearing. Those stories when we come back. Welcome back. A forum aimed at creating policies to address issues women soldiers face in their line of duties is underway in Port Moresby. It is the second annual forum for women soldiers and will conclude on Thursday. Participants have come from the 2nd Royal Pacific Islands Regiment in Wewak, Lombrum Naval Base in Manus and the Goldie River Training Depot outside Port Moresby.
At least 100 women soldiers are attending this 3-day forum. Discussions from this forum will be put together in what may become the first policy that will govern how women soldiers are treated in the Defence Force.
The forum that is currently being held here now is a follow-on from 2014-2015 workshops that we've been conducting, basically to formulate our gender and equality policy for our PNG Defence Force females in the Defence Force.
At the moment, the PNG Defence Force does not have policies that address what is expected of women soldiers and the appropriate approaches that should be taken when dealing with women soldiers.
General Torpo became the commander, and that is for us to come up with the gender policy that assists us in administrating our females in the Defence Force.
In 2009, PNGDF recruited the first batch of women soldiers. The second lot was in 2011 and the recent was in 2014.
Since 2011, when we started recruiting other ranks, female other ranks into the Defence Force, as opposed to officers who in 1997 was the first time we got our female officers into the Defence Force. But in 2011 was when we first got our female other ranks enlisted into the Defence Force. We have never really concentrated on working on a policy that will assist us in managing and administrating our females.
The move to create such a policy is part of the PNG Defence Force's involvement in creating equal opportunities for women. The discussions include topics on women in law and justice, maternity and paternity leaves, and career management. The discussions continue tomorrow. It is expected to conclude on Thursday with ideas that can be developed into policies that will govern the roles and responsibilities of women soldiers and even disciplinary actions against women soldiers who break the military code of conduct.
I think one of those challenges is we do not have policies in place that will assist us better manage. So disciplinary issues would probably be in terms of issues where when one is on maternity leave, do we have a policy that has that to be away from work or not away from work?
Tekla Gunga, National EMTV News.
Papua New Guinea's forest covers are reportedly decreasing, an issue caused by domestic economic interest. Neville Howcraft, a veteran tree breeder, says the work of mining and logging and oil palm in recent years are greedy as more trees are being destroyed than they are being replanted. Recent reports from the National Forest Authority have indicated that PNG's forest covers are about 64%, but that percentage is dropping at a much faster rate.
From up in the air, you could see the dense forest, largely untouched and largely unoccupied. It is a portion of more than 60,000 hectares of forest that make up the total forest cover of Pomio district in East New Britain province. Towards the coast, you could see the forest being cleared to make way for oil palm, a lucrative business that is growing in popularity in most rural parts of the province. In the last 3 years, landowners here have allowed large foreign companies to enter their traditional land to develop the crop on a larger scale. The reason is the oil palm developers are providing better roads, schools and health services, which the PNG government has failed to provide in many years. While many consider this a positive move taken by the landowners, their actions came with consequences. Some of the conditions came under the controversial SABL, which gave way to more issues relating to unmonitored logging activities and in some instances gave amnesty to illegal loggers.
Looking after the land.
Neville O'Croft is a veteran tree breeder. He has worked in the country for more than 40 years. He says economic developments such as mining, logging and oil palm have created more problems to the environment without any remorse.
I think they're too greedy, and I think it has been out of hand a fair bit. I think that we need to look at doing a lot more replanting, getting them to be part of the replanting system.
At the other end of the country on Mishima Island, new trees have been replanted. It's a reforestation program aimed at rebuilding the island's vegetation that was destroyed during mining operations in the mid-1990s.
These trees on top here you see, it was done by the mines who came and rehabilitate this area. They planted these trees, but at the first there weren't any trees, it was only bare soil.
The PNG government, through its National Forest Authority, have pledged to plant more new trees that were destroyed by intensive economic activities all over the country. Under its reforestation programs, the National Forest Authority hopes to regain more than 50% of forests by the year 2050.
And some of those things about the logging I'm not very impressed with. I think there's a great scope for forestry in working on the repair work and also developing a good stewardship when it comes to looking after the environment.
The impacts of deforestation continue to plague other parts of the world, such as in the Amazon, where at least 8 million hectares of forest are leveled each year for logging and other economic prospects. In PNG, foresters like Neville says deforestation is a national issue that is not much talked about and remained largely ignored. Edwin Fidelis, National EMTV News, Kokopo.
Morebe's Provincial Program Advisor for Community Development says the Department of National Planning and Monitoring has sorted out the delay of the NID registration process in Lae. Kyun Kimbing said those who have submitted their registration forms and are still waiting would collect their birth certificates by next week. The delay was due to technical issues with the Civil and National Identification Registry Office in Port Moresby.
Some residents from Lae and the other districts who submitted their NID registration forms early this year are still waiting for their NID cards and birth certificates. The Provincial Program Advisor for Community Development in Morebe, Kyun Kimbing, said they would collect the birth certificates next week. Kimbing said the National Civil and Identity Registry Office in Port Moresby has sorted out the delay.
We are supposed to get the national, there's a security features birth certificates that we usually use to print. It's not an ordinary papers or ordinary documents that we print. It has the security features and which we get from the national department. So in the recent times, we were advised in recently, that was last week, that they got everything in order now.
During our interview with the provincial registrar last month, he mentioned the areas causing the delay. Keputong Gabob said there are currently 7 officers working at the NID Registry Office. The administration has requested the National Registry in Port Moresby to take on board more officers in order to cater for the population of Morebe.
Our friends from the National Department is well aware of that staffing issue and they are working on that, and we acknowledge that too. They would sooner or later advise us on that.
Kimbing has called on the 9 districts of Morebe to support the Provincial Registry Office in registering residents of the districts. The service of registration for birth certificates and NID cards is free to all members of the public by the National Registry Office. Kimbing has called on the public to report cases concerning NID officers charging fees when conducting registrations.
Encouraging all clients that has even experienced that or who has seen that or who has also witnessed that to come forward and advise us and let me and my officers hear that no, these are officers that are doing that, they are charging fees on these occasions. And that's already an offense that they've committed without consulting our office.
Julie Badui Owa, National EMTV News, Lae.
Papua New Guinea's revenue has exceeded 7 billion kina. This data was presented today in Lae by the Mineral Resources Authority. According to MRA's Managing Director Philip Samar, the mining sector is a thriving industry that needs to be protected.
The data presented by the MRA showed that PNG has received more than 7.1 billion kina of mining exports as of August this year. This report was presented to interest groups in Lae today at the Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative Forum, held in partnership with the Consultative Implementation and Monitoring Council.
It's on building the capacity of our provincial, regional government entities and also community interest groups as well.
The EITI is set up to promote transparent management of revenue received from natural resources. It is vital for members of communities impacted by mines to understand how resources mined from their land is benefiting them.
One of the main concerns or issues that are prevalent in PNG right now is how do people benefit from the resources that they own.
According to the MRA, the mining sector in PNG is capable of delivering world-class projects. However, there are a number of challenges which include funding requirements, landowner disputes, lack of infrastructure, amongst other issues. The involvement of the CIMC, MRA and EITI with local communities aims to aid reports of payments made to provinces and LLGs.
The whole purpose of coming here is to meet government officials, community leaders, and build relationships that will allow us to report on the payments that are coming into the provinces from resource projects.
Lucy Kopana, National EMTV News, Lae.
PMV buses in Port Moresby are on strike following an alleged assault yesterday by police on a bus crew member. Bus drivers told EMTV News that the strike will continue for a week. This has affected Port Moresby residents, the working population and students who rely heavily on public transport.
Bus drivers told EMTV News since yesterday afternoon they were on strike following an alleged assault to a Road 17 bus crew by police officers at Manu Autoport. This has caused bus drivers to cease operations.
Astem all running all white line kamna all bus stop the line lane tuplo bus stop backside lane not la driver blue stop the line lane emno anything even emno block him road too stop the line lane all policemen all come now. All 6 mile all come now. All Burgan no space plan. All fighting them. All fighting them no go through na ben no logo mai. All fighting this driver innocent driver stop nothing
Since this morning, there were no buses in sight at major bus stops around the city, leaving many stranded. This is what some residents had to say. While some were for the strike, others were against it.
Well, all steelman planted all can go pani mol kilimol and good la. But all PMB driver and bus crew and all man low. Because every more people were all stranded low one map, all saxi maybe all kako blown, all go one map. Even all school beginning to all this land bus crew and driver more important lo carry more man go come.
Only to solve out the problem lol na. Current bus service law must be can run no more like before.
You do good all things so smart to stop, but one line, one of this man made it. All Narpla, you know, involved because mistake from driver, boss could make it now. All policemen made it.
Students as young as primary school level were seen walking home after class as there was no possible transport available. EMTV News spoke to a group of grade 12 students who said the strike had affected their written exams today, while another group of students from ITI walked from Badili to 4 Mile in hopes of a bus available at the bus stop. One resident used his private vehicle to service transport to Gordon's Market from 4 Mile bus stop.
School beginning on market land, work land, struggle on bus, and slagam so mibla at least talking more kalap na chatting more 1 kilo, give more lift.
Meanwhile, police are aware of the issue but have not made an official comment. Merlin Diawgatam, National EMTV News.
The Chief Executive Officer of the Road Transport Authority has described the strike today in Port Moresby as uncalled for. CEO Nelson Terema says service providers have not followed proper procedures with the public held at ransom, especially when national examinations are ongoing and the working population is unnecessarily being punished. Mr. Terema is disappointed as this is not the first strike by service providers.
We will not entertain. We will make sure to revoke all those licenses and issue to people who can provide a quality and effective public transport services in the city. We cannot continuously be harassed by operators. This is a city and the city is here to stay. And the city has been developing and the population has been increased. Vehicle number have been increased, a lot of infrastructure have been taken place, and we cannot come up with such actions without giving a warning, without even coming through the formal authorities concerned to address such issues.
And now looking at our finance news, the Kina closed unchanged at $0.3125 in the interbank markets. At Bank South Pacific, your Kina was buying $0.305 $0.3844 Australian dollars, $0.2548 euro, and 33.85 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, copper closed higher, while gold, coffee, and cocoa closed the day lower. Palm oil closed higher, while crude oil and copper closed the day lower. And on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed at 85.24 points higher, the ASX closed at 42.85 points higher, and the All Ordinaries closed at 40.84 points higher. Among stories after the break, scientists discover the coalition of two stars 130 million years later. Stay tuned for details. Welcome back to the news. Turning overseas, the worst storm in half a century has hit the Irish coast, and its effects have been felt as far away as Portugal, where strong winds are fanning wildfires that have killed at least 31 people. A state of emergency has been declared in northern Portugal, while the fires have spread across the border with Spain, where 4 people have died.
Man versus nature. It's been a brutal few months for weather-related disasters. This time, it's Portugal taking the heat. The death toll is rising. At least 35 people have died from this inferno, scorching the country's northern and central regions. Strong winds from Hurricane Ophelia are fanning the flames, causing widespread damage. More than 6,000 firefighters are struggling to contain the blazes, and a state of emergency is being declared. Houses, factories and lives destroyed. In Ireland, it's the storm that's causing chaos. Officials calling it the worst to hit the country in 50 years.
Go on.
Ophelia's been downgraded to a post-tropical cyclone, but a red alert remains in place. And hurricane winds are still buffeting the region, up to 170 kilometres an hour. 3 people have died and 360,000 homes and businesses are without power.
With this number of customers out, it's unprecedented. It's going to be a number of days before people have their power back. About 5% of customers, it'll be up to 10 days before they have their power back.
Nature has left her mark.
It is crazy. I've lived here for a while and I haven't seen anything like it. It seems cool, it's kind of scary.
The strong winds have swept dust from the Sahara Desert and ashes from the fires, turning skies across the UK red. But it's not over yet. Ophelia is making her way to Scotland.
A violent collision between 2 stars at a distant galaxy has solved some major cosmic mysteries, including how gold is made. It happened 130 million years ago, but was so far away. It's only just been seen and heard by scientists on Earth.
The longest straight line in the world, a 2.5-mile pipe containing a laser that can detect powerful explosions in space. 2 stars colliding in a galaxy far, far away, around 800 billion miles from Earth. The 2 stars got closer and closer until they merged, resulting in a huge shock wave that rippled across the universe. The massive explosion led to the production of rare elements such as gold and platinum. Neutron stars are what's left over when giant suns die and collapse in on themselves. They're so densely packed that a teaspoon would weigh 1 billion tons. And here is the actual sound of the collision. They then become part of planets when they form, including here on Earth. It took place 130 million years ago when dinosaurs roamed the Earth. And it's only now that the light and gravitational waves have reached us.
We have been waiting for this for so long.
Within seconds, telescopes all over the world were pointed at the colliding stars. And this is what they saw. The collision created distortions, stretching and squeezing space. These are known as gravitational waves.
We are still rubbing our eyes, or rather ears, as we have just woken up to the sound of gravitational waves.
Researchers say there are likely to be many more discoveries using gravitational waves of objects in the universe that we have not yet imagined.
Mount Hagen team yet to secure funds for the PNG Games. Details up next in Chukai Sports.
Chukai Sports.
Welcome to Chukai Sports. There are only 4 weeks left before the opening of the 7th PNG Games in Kimbe, and Team Western Highlands still has no sponsor. Yesterday, the Hagen District Sports Association opened up to the media about what the Provincial Sports Council has been doing in preparation for the Games. Provincial Sports Council Chairman Stephen Mokai told EMTV News today that they have a budget but have no funding available.
Hagen District Sports Association President Simon Kama says the team will need at least 500,000 kina or less for travelling expenses, accommodation, food, uniforms and other necessities. There are about 168 athletes from Team Western Highlands who were selected to represent the province in less than 10 codes. The codes are basketball, taekwondo, golf, athletics, Paralympics, boxing, kickboxing, powerlifting, weightlifting and bowling. However, Mr. Kama said they have no solid preparation and team bonding and training for all the sporting codes hasn't started yet.
As the third city in the country, and if we don't travel, I don't think that's good. So we have to travel and the provincial government has to make some finance available for the team to travel.
Provincial Sports Council Chairman Stephen Mokai and Team Western Highlands manager Peter Nepil say their last resort would be to scale down the number of athletes. Mokai said funding is an issue for Team Western Highlands due to the cash flow problem the country is currently facing. They have also written to business houses to secure sponsors, but they have received the same responses, that their operations are also affected by the current cash flow problem.
Trying to look at 2 or 3 major companies within the province, at least to personally go and discuss with them if they, the second time, if they could assist as well. But I cannot be very positive on this option as well, whether there will be funding or not. But
Team manager Napil says most of the athletes in Team Western Highlands will have to defend their medals in the coming games, and they are not looking at cancelling anything.
And then why not Western Highlands if we can have 6 teams, 5 teams, 7 teams to raise our play, so that the people of this province, they must be proud of we be participating at the games. So I kindly ask the local MPs, especially if they can take a lead role, especially to contribute towards this game, the upcoming game.
Team Western Highlands has always produced top athletes such as Toya Whistle, and says they will try everything they can to send the team to Kimbe. They are also appealing to the 4 open MPs to support the team. Vasinata Yama, National EMTV Sports, Mount Hagen.
Rugby League World Cup 2017 Tournament Director Jeremy Edwards is sure PNG will make great hosts. He says the 3 teams are looking forward to visiting PNG.
Rugby League World Cup Tournament Director Jeremy Edwards says a great operational team has been set up in Papua New Guinea and is overwhelmed with the work they've done so far.
We've done an absolutely sensational job of putting this together, bringing some great skills to this tournament from FIFA under-20 matches and also the Pacific Games. So we're very, very excited to have those guys and girls on board with us doing this great work.
They expect to have a seamless operation when the teams arrive in Port Moresby to play the Comals. All 3 teams are excited and looking forward to visiting Papua New Guinea.
We have a very good relationship with the teams at the moment, talking to them all the time about their trip to Papua New Guinea. They're very excited. I can say they're very keen to come over here and see this. They've heard a lot about Papua New Guinea and also a lot about the fact that rugby league is the national sport over here.
Wales, Ireland and USA will spend 5 days in Port Moresby, where they will be actively involved in different community engagements and have training sessions at the Sir John Guy Stadium.
So you'll get to see a lot of them around town, which is very exciting. I guess in finishing up at the moment, it's been an absolute pleasure to be up here, to work up here, and I can say that the team up here that are putting on the tournament is they're in great shape. The venue's looking fantastic. The training venues are also looking great. All the logistical operations in place, all the hotels, the transport, all the infrastructure that we need to go on to make a great tournament are all in place.
Just like Jeremy Edwards, many people are excited and looking forward to seeing the teams arrive in the nation's capital. Wales will be the first to visit Port Moresby as they take on the Comals next week Saturday at the National Football Stadium. Elijah Levet, National EMTV Sports.
More on the Rugby League World Cup campaign when we come back. The Kiwis start to assemble in Auckland. Stay tuned for details.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. The final members of the Kiwi squad have begun to assemble in Auckland ahead of the World Cup campaign. Few more are yet to join the New Zealand Rugby League team, while Canberra Raiders winger Jordan Rapana arrived in the country late last night.
The Dally M Winger of the Year, who is eligible to play for 4 different nations in International Rugby League, says he can't wait to honour the Kiwis jersey.
It's here's home. Even though I left here at a young age, I always still call New Zealand home, and I'm very, very proud and passionate wearing the black jersey.
The Kiwis open their World Cup challenge on October 28th against Samoa. And staying with League, and as Jared Hayne prepares with Fiji ahead of the World Cup, speculations rife surrounding a possible move to an aspiring rugby league club in New York. The talk comes as founders of the New York City club began a push to play in English Rugby League's second division, with their sights on Hayne as a marquee signing. Now, Hayne's not the only NRL player on the club's radar, with 2 other former Kangaroos also approached to play for the club in 2019. The All Blacks have given a glimpse into the future, thrusting Canterbury first five Richie Mo'unga into the squad as cover for Beauden Barrett. The All Blacks playmaker was forced from the field during the first half of their 25-24 win over South Africa in Cape Town after a head knock. But Barrett is still expected to start against the Wallabies on Saturday night.
Jason Taumalolo and Andrew Fifita's move to shun New Zealand and Australia has earned mixed responses from both sides. But in a column on Players' Voice, Tonga coach Christian Wolff said that was the kind of situation he had grown accustomed to after Tonga had to deal with players leaving their squad to join top-tier nations. Wolff also defended the star-studded selection of his squad, claiming all but one of his 24 NRL and English Super League representatives had played for Tonga before turning out for any other country. And that ends Trukai Sports. The weather details when we come back.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield. Worth doing with Dulux.
Looking at the weather forecast for tonight, in the southern region, a shower or two in Port Moresby, fine in Daru and Popondetta, cloudy in Kerema and rain in Alotau. And in the Momasa region, fine in Lae and Medang, passing showers in Wewak, and a shower or two in Vanimore.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield. Worth doing with Dulux.
And that's the way it is this Tuesday, the 17th of October 2017. From the entire news team, pleasant viewing. Good night.